Opponents of Egypt's president, Mohamed Morsi, are making a show of strength. Over 200,000 people have flooded Tahrir Square, demanding the president give back the power he took last week. The Army private accused of giving away U.S. military secrets to the website WikiLeaks is at a hearing at Fort Meade in Maryland. Bradley Manning claims he was illegally punished by being locked up in a cell that was too small for 9 months. The military says he was treated properly. There could be sweeping changes to state laws and procedures in Pennsylvania that protect children. A commission set up after the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse case is recommending the changes. The former Penn State assistant football coach is now in prison. The jackpot for tomorrow's Powerball drawing has grown to a record $500 million. These lottery players in New York say they're buying tickets even though they know they have little chance of winning.
Very low, very slim.
Yeah, very slim.
You can't win if you don't play.
Lottery officials say with so many tickets being sold, the chance of getting a grand prize winner tomorrow is almost 60%. If you're looking to add a little romance to your life, the AP's John Belmont has just the piece of movie memorabilia for you.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
You must remember this.
The piano Dooley Wilson played in the 1942 classic Casablanca is going up for auction, and it's not expected to go for a song. The instrument will be up for bids December 14th at Sotheby's in New York, and the auction house estimates it'll fetch up to $1.2 million.
He's looking at you, kid.
A Japanese collector is offering the piano to mark the 70th anniversary of the film's release. The collector bought the prop for $154,000 in 1988. I'm John Belmont.
Journalism without agenda. This is America's Radio News.
If you suffer from excruciating back pain and sciatica, pay careful attention. According to a study in the medical journal Spine, back surgeries to alleviate pain frequently backfire, leaving patients in more pain than before the surgery. A second study from the University of Cincinnati's College of Medicine provides clear evidence that 74% of surgeries for the back fail. But there is a solution and an end to your suffering. Dr. Fernando Ranella, he's a medical doctor and the founder of the Center for Back Pain Management, where he specializes in the elimination of back pain and sciatica quickly, easily, without surgery or any pain medication whatsoever. Dr. Ranella accepts Medicare and most insurance. He has a location in Delray and one in Fort Lauderdale. Call 561-819-6325. That's 561-819-6325.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Carry the 1, move over the 2, minus 50, divide by 2, $500 million. Okay, that's $500 million. $500 million in the Powerball tomorrow. If I don't win, would be if I don't win, which would be very difficult for me to win because I don't have a ticket.
Can you buy tickets in Florida?
Yeah. Florida's involved.
What, Florida's a Powerball?
I hear the audio on. Florida. I don't want it yet. If I don't win, I hope the winner is someone who will donate to the Trento Vision Show.
Okay.
To allow us to continue to be the thorn in Mr. Obama's side that we are, and
but not just him.
Not just him. No, he's symbolic.
The undefenders of America. How about that?
Yes, the Caesars of America. he's just the symbolic leader. But I left sort of with a cliffhanger,
Right.
saying what people need to understand. This is Tom Trento, CJ, Trento Vision TV, WNN 1470 here at 8 minutes after 5 o'clock in the beautiful town of Boca Raton, broadcasting from North Miami Beach, which is about 50 miles to the south, to Orlando, just about Kissimmee. I've heard the signal in Kissimmee, about 150 miles. This thing covers 150, 200 miles and about 30 miles wide or so, because the ocean's there and not too many people living in the water nowadays. But you can be an advertiser with us. Contact Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Or if you don't want to mess around with all that, you can go to TrentoVision.tv, click on Donate, and you can donate a little something there. And remember, if you win tomorrow night, remember us. We're here for you. But we're trying to stress and get through the hard heads of many Americans the connection between the upheaval, not the upheaval, but the up in evil in the Middle East and the way you live in America. You see, CJ brought up a fascinating point where I really want to develop through the show in the days and weeks and months and years ahead, that not only is the Sharia a defining document for incompatibility with the West, but you brought in this more personal theory. We're going to use theory for now,
Okay.
of incipient Jew hatred.
Yes.
That it flows through the blood of Muslims.
Yes.
And if that were true, it bypasses all the academic, all the authoritative texts. That's certainly supported by them, but it precedes and supersedes.
Yes.
That's fascinating, because that means that we will have a clash. We are in a clash of civilizations, as Huntington said.
Yeah.
But I left a little cliffhanger saying, what is America going to look like if we don't do what we need to do here? And it's very simple. This is what America is going to look like. Take a look and take a listen. That, my friends, is Tahrir Square live and in color at 12:10 in the evening. 12:10 in the evening, 7 hours different right now from where we are here, about 7,000 miles away. Tahrir Square is the Times Square of Cairo. Cairo is the center of Islam right now, Sunni Islam. Al-Azhar University is there. American University is there. American University is an American university in Cairo, and I think we have a caller on.
Yes, we do.
That was a young little wet behind the ears student at American University. Rabbi John, are you there?
I am here. How are you guys?
Hey,
Hi.
doing well. If I'm not mistaken, you were a student in Cairo, Egypt.
Yeah, I was late 70s.
Oh,
Interesting
man.
time before the Camp David Accords.
And you're a rabbi, so let me see. That would make you Jewish?
It would also make me old.
What is a Jewish rabbi?
You're a young whippersnapper.
What is a Jewish rabbi doing in a Cairo university?
It's a long story. the long and the short of it was I had an opportunity and I took it. And for me, it was an easy decision to make. And my father was very supportive. My mother was sort of concerned, but she basically agreed with my father was an opportunity that I had to take. So I did.
Now, what was in the 70s? Now that's before Sadat too, right?
No, it was during Sadat.
During Sadat.
Begin Sadat.
Yeah, Sadat came to power after Gamal Abdel Nasser died in 71, I think that was. 71. It was around the time Muhammad Ali was coming back to box. So it would have been 70, 71. Sadat came to power, and of course he was assassinated by, Jamiat al-Islami, a Muslim Brotherhood front group in Egypt in the 80s, right after the Camp David Accords were signed.
Right. Now, what was it like going to school as a Jew in Sunni Egypt? I mean, was it very secular and open, or was it like you got to watch your back?
I didn't share information with anybody. No one. No one knew that I was Jewish. At least nobody at the university. I kept it very quiet.
Wow.
Now, you kept it quiet for security reasons or just personal reasons or what?
Look, Egypt then, it was not like Egypt today. However,
yeah.
Listen, those of us who were engaged, we knew that the dangers. We knew. Listen, I mean, I was over there. I was reading Hassan al-Banna, and in Arabic. I mean, very much familiar with the philosophy and theology of the Ikhwan al-Muslimin. So, knowing that is the seat of Sunni Islam, knowing that it was the seat of attempts theologically and philosophically to reestablish the caliphate, it was just best to keep your mouth shut.
Oh, fascinating.
Just best to keep your mouth shut. So consequently, I didn't share much of anything with anybody. The only person who outwardly and inwardly knew that I was Jewish was the professor who took us from Washington, D.C. over to Egypt.
Okay, and in that course of study, you learned Arabic and.
No, I already had several years of college Arabic before I went over.
Okay, so all right. Well, help our listeners here on TrentoVision.tv and our viewers understand what the heck is going through. You're
why don't I do this? What prompted my phone call in today? You should know that I watch. I hope other people watch you guys online as much as I do. I watch a few times a week. It was just I was listening to a comment that the comment that CJ made regarding endemic, Jew hatred and Islam, and how that affects the ability to sit with somebody across the table, sit with the enemy across the table, and try to make peace. And the only comment I can make is how do you make peace when you deal with the other side that has a 1,400-year history as expressed through its sacralized texts, the full corpus of the Sunnah. That means the Quran, the Ahadith, the aphorisms that are ascribed to Muhammad himself, and the Sirat, the actual biography of Muhammad. When you put the whole corpus of the Sunnah together, as well the commentary of Tabari and the Tafsir Jalalain and all these great Islamic commentators, you have a sacralized doctrine that has enshrined Jew hatred and has acted as the underlying catalyst for 1,400 years of Jew hatred and the agent by which and through which people have expressed Jew hatred. So for Hamas to say, we're going to wipe out the Zionist entity, we don't recognize the Zionist entity, how are you going to sit down with people like that? You can't. Westerners don't think in these terms. How many times listen, even in my rabbinate, I'm schooled in the martial arts, and we take kids down to the dojo where I train, and parents complain, for this 6-8 week self-defense course. No, you're teaching kids to solve their problems with their fists, not their words. It's a Western concept to be able to sit across the table and discuss your differences using language, and in so doing, resolve a problem, resolve differences. But
Right.
it's not the Oriental way of looking at it. In Oriental, I mean the Near Eastern way of
Right.
looking at it. It's
Right.
just not the way. Take a look at the descriptions of Jews. In some of the tafsirs, the expositions on the first surah, the seventh ayat. Where you have a lot of the hadith dealing with Jews being analogized to dogs. Okay, take a look at some of the great Muslim historians that have commented on the fifth surah and the ninth surah, as well as others, and the descriptions of Jews that have been handed down from generation to generation, therein and thereby.
Right.
So now you're going to be able to. Now you're going to say, okay, Israel, sit down and speak with Hamas, which describes itself as the Muslim Brotherhood. You've got,
Right.
or the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, seeking, not peace with Israel, but to replace Israel. It is supersessionist, plain and simple.
Hey, hang on, Rabbi. We have someone else who wants to get in on the call. Mark, are you there?
How you doing, Rabbi? It's Mark Campbell.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Mark.
How you doing?
How are you doing today?
No, doing good.
Okay.
Good. I just wanted to comment on the CJ's point and the Rabbi's point is that this is a race war with Middle Eastern Muslims against Jews. In fact, they even write it in the Hamas charter, stating, "Oh, Muslims, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill him." And this is, coming down to a complete and total race war that never ended after World War II with, Husseini. And, when Hitler lost, the Muslims out of the Middle East did not go, quietly. They kept fighting that race war that Hitler started. And it was, I just want you to comment on that, Rabbi, and the Hamas.
You want to know something, Mark? I wouldn't call it a race war. I would call it an ongoing religious war, a war of religious civilizations, plain and simple.
Right.
But
I think
this war is theologically inspired and theologically underpinned. And I've always found it interesting how people talk about Hitler and a race war, but fascism is a theology as well.
Yes.
Communism is a theology as well. It's not new that theologies have been combined with political programs. This is not new in history.
And the point is here, where we're talking about this deep-rooted and unifying anti-Semitism, is that hatred, which is what this is, endemic hatred, is not something you can negotiate about. This is not something that you can discuss and just get past. This is not a dispute over how far into my backyard does your fence go. This is not about, no, that's my water well or my oil well, and we have to figure out whose side of the property it's on. This predates any issues having to do with land or resources or anything else between Muslims and Jews. It will post-date any
theological.
Anything Israel gives up is a waste of time. An absolute waste of time to give any of these people anything.
It has been shown over the course of the Oslo process, as it's like people want to call it.
Right.
And every time Israel withdraws from territory, Israel's enemies are emboldened. Plain and simple.
Right.
Plain and simple.
You know what this makes me think of? I remember I used to live in Seattle, and I think it was back in 2004 or maybe 2005. Yossi Beilin, who was the Oslo architect, he was the chief negotiator for Israel, was appearing in Seattle on behalf of the Rotary Club or something like this. And of course, he had totally gone over, completely leftly, blindly to the other side and just got sucked up into the whole Oslo belief system. And his point was to the audience in Seattle that, oh, these Palestinians, they're just like us. They want the same things as us. They want to raise their children, their families, their businesses, and everything else. They want everything that we have. And my first thought was, yes, that's exactly the point. They want everything that we have. They want to kill us and take it away from us and have it for themselves. And that's what you don't get.
This is Tom. It's almost analogous to a drug, to some sort of barbiturate that you get addicted to. I'm listening to two Jewish people, the rabbi and CJ. Mark's our proverbial Unitarian.
He's our goddess worshiper.
Yeah, and if your theory is right that there's an endemic Jew hatred in the Muslim world that covers most of it, if not all of it, then A, there's no hope of peace ever, no long-term peace in any way. And maybe what's happening, you could have a person that wants all the best things in the world for his kids, his family, his job, but he's addicted to this drug that controls his life. And this Jew hatred is like the drug, some sort of drug that just supersedes the basal and normal things that human beings want. The hate just overrides everything, and everything is viewed in this context of hate.
Yeah.
So they can be seen by some of these willing participants as normal people because they're ignoring this overriding hatred component.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's the answer to the to the Palestinian problem, Rabbi?
You manage it as best you can. Listen, I'm not worried about them. I'm in the business for Jewish survival, plain and simple. You manage the conflict as best you can, and you move on, understanding that there will never be peace. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to sit from my office and say, I'm condemning all Muslims. I'm not. Okay. I deal with doctrine. This is what their doctrine. This is what their holy texts say in their language, or as they translate it from their official translations.
Right.
This is what they do.
Right.
Dave Gorbutz, he said, listen, he's not worried about all Muslims. He's worried about Sharia compliant Muslims.
Right.
Or maybe
it's an interesting way to view this, because the Sharia compliant, are those people who are energized by the underlying doctrine to act.
Yeah, CJ interjected this non-academic component, this Jew hatred, a more visceral, emotional component that may be parallel to Sharia compliance or may supersede it. Maybe the test that we give to Muslims, in our theoretical world we're living in, is I wrote a piece a while back, 30 questions to ask a Muslim to determine whether or not they're compatible with the United States of America, right?
Right.
And notwithstanding their doctrine of being able to lie, taqiyya, notwithstanding that, the assumption is they're going to answer these questions honestly. Then you can make a decision whether or not they're compatible with what the United States is. And one of the questions I had in there was, can you take the U.S. naturalization oath? And the naturalization oath has language in it that says you abjure and reject all governments. And it goes on and on and on. And you swear to allegiance to the United States. And according to the doctrines of Islam, no, you cannot do that. In fact,
That's right.
In June, and Mark was with us, we did an operation at the Hilton Hotel in Tampa, Florida, about 25 people from the United West, and we infiltrated overtly an ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, East Coast Conference, several hundred Muslims. 25 of us were there. And guess what they didn't have on stage at their conference on lessons on how to be a great American citizen.
Oh, how about an American flag?
They didn't have an American flag in a conference that was dedicated to being great American citizens. So one of our guys challenged them, how come you guys don't have an American flag here? They actually had the audacity to say that the Hilton doesn't have a flag. And they scurried around and they found a CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, postcard that CARE was using to promote CARE.
Mm-hmm.
And on one corner of it was a printed image of a piece of a flag.
Mm-hmm.
So Ahmed Badir, the Muslim brother from Tampa, got that postcard, went up front and said, we'll show you that we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. And he led the Muslims in a Pledge of Allegiance, and a good portion of them would not stand. They would not participate.
Right.
And then we challenged them later, and we looked up their doctrine. They are not allowed to take a Sharia-compliant Muslim is not allowed to take the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, that was a little bit of a diversion in terms of determining who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. But if we could ask a simple question, do you hate Jews? That would probably divide those Muslims who can assimilate and those who won't.
Well, because the thing is, you don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be religiously devout. You don't have to know a whole lot about what it is to be a Muslim in order to hate Jews.
Yeah,
Everybody
pretty
learns
simple.
it from babyhood. If you ever went to your mosque, you heard it in a sermon.
Well,
There's no way that you didn't.
Mark, were you going to say something, Mark?
Yeah, there's another important thing. And first of all, I want to correct you on one thing that you said earlier. It's not an epidemic. It's actually a pandemic. And the other point is, it's not just the Jew hatred, the reason they loathe Jews. It's also this lack of responsibility. They must blame somebody for everything. It's just not, I'm not responsible for my actions, therefore someone else has to be at fault. And the easy scapegoat in all this are Jews. And that's the default they go to all the time is, if the Jews didn't do this, we would be better. If the Jews didn't do this, we would have this. If the Jews didn't have all the money, we would have more money. And it keeps going back to that blame mentality, and where they just scream and yell and do not take responsibility.
Hey, Rabbi, you have obviously lived in Egypt, in Cairo, gone to school there. You've been to Tahrir Square, I assume?
Oh, God. Used to hang out there back in 1978. Yep.
All right, well, right now there's thousands and thousands of non-brotherhood, secular, I'm doing air quotes, secular Muslims protesting President Mohammed Morsi, the Muslim brother, who was educated in the U.S., as you know. What do you think, being a student of Egyptology and the Brotherhood, is Morsi going to cave? What's going to happen?
I don't think he's going to cave. He might have some minor tactical retreat, but he's not going to cave. This is This is political Islam. This is Islamism. This is whatever you want to call it, on the ascendancy. This is the rise of radical Islam, if you want to call it. This is the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is their moment. You know, he's not going to cave. He's going to follow the pattern. My own personal feeling is my wife. It's interesting. My wife and I were talking about this morning over breakfast. Okay, some breakfast conversation, and she and I both agree. This guy Morsi is going to follow the pattern established by his co-Islamist in Turkey, Erdogan.
And what was that pattern?
Well, let's see. He defagged the parliament. He defagged the military. He defagged the police. He defagged the judiciary. He jailed He jailed opposition journalists. You know, so by the time people were out there demonstrating, okay, fine, they're demonstrating, but what power was there? And the AKP, okay, just continued to go about its business, consolidating its position and installing, you know, an Islamist regime in Turkey.
Yeah, well, with this many people, and the Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, called off their competitive million-man march at the same time so that there would not be a clash. It's going to be interesting to see if this thing...
There's not a clash, Tom. There's not a clash. It's very simple, though. Turn on the Western TV and see how many broadcast journalists are at Tahrir Square right now. Are those the images? Does Morsi, who has Obama, this administration's backing, does he want images of bloodshed being splattered across the TVs of 310 million Americans?
Yeah, no.
No, he wants to show, look, we can have peaceful protests here, no problems here.
You know, in the meantime,
it's so orchestrated.
It's right. Where in the meantime, he's going about with his constituent assembly to draft the Constitution without, you know, Coptic representation now because they've left the table. The secularists input because they've left the table. You know.
Yeah, I personally, I cannot see him backing down at this point. He you know, in the mode of Chicago, the Blues Brothers, he's on a mission for God. He's
on a mission for Allah.
Yeah. That's what he sees.
Yeah.
And this is his moment. And probably he'll let these crowds burn out. These crowds would be similar to the Green Party in the United States. I mean, this is not the totality of the Egyptian population, obviously. These are the ones that are upset. It'd be like the Green Party being upset with the Democrats or the Republicans, and they're making a lot of noise. Yeah. Half of those people there are having a party. I mean, they're just coming out, playing around.
And in terms of their party, you know, who here in the United States and the levers of governance has condemned what Morsi's power grab.
Did you see
the vice president?
Did you see?
Has the designee for Secretary of State? I mean, nobody's condemned this guy.
Did you see Jay Carney, the president's press secretary today? Mark,
Carney.
Did anybody see that? Jay Carney. Yeah. Several of the press corps were asking him, "Are you condemning Morsi?"
Right.
We put out a statement that we have great concern. Well, are you at least criticizing him? Our statement says that we have great concern. Well, come on, Jay.
Right.
Can you criticize the guy? Our concern is that our statement has great concern for what's being concerned over there. It was nonsensical.
Actually, if I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of our interest is in the development and continuing development and transition to democracy.
Who writes this stuff?
And one other point I would like to add about the Constitution that you guys are talking about. Oh, they're going to do this with the Constitution, that with the Constitution. Constitutions don't mean anything unless they're actually defended. If you would have read the Soviet Constitution in the 1960s and 50s, it was, I mean, it was a beautiful document. If you didn't know that it was the Soviet Union, you would think if you lived here, you were living in paradise. Our own Constitution here is starting to mean absolutely nothing because the people who are in power are usurping what the Constitution stands for. So whether they develop a Constitution or not means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we have up on the screen right now Tahrir Square live. So if people are watching TrentoVision.tv at 36 minutes past 5 o'clock on a beautiful Boca Raton, the sun is setting and there's a little bit of red in the sky. Red skies at night, Sailor Delight. Red skies in the morning, Sailor's
Look at all those beautiful people.
Yep.
Look at all of them. All in a circle. It could be like the cop is right in the middle there.
Yeah. They look like they're, singing Kumbaya or something. Do you see, you don't see any hostility. You don't see any threat, any danger, nothing.
Well, what's that, Mark?
Yeah, and I'm just saying, this is just going by the pattern. the complete pattern of the Islamists. I mean, one vote, one time. They did it in '79. They did it with the Hamas, and now it's coming to Egypt. I mean, you've been predicting this forever. I mean, all of you
Right.
do this one vote, one time. That's it, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and we're trying to make the point on TrentoVision.tv here that these affairs 7,000 miles away impact Americans each and every day, because right now Israel has continually been, but since the Arab Spring, these issues have been magnified exponentially. Israel is a flashpoint. The jihadis want to destroy Israel. They're aligning themselves with the Iranians, the Shia that they hate. They slice each other's throat in the springtime, and now they're fighting all of us here. But the point is, jihadis worldwide are viewing America as the blocking back, keeping Islam from destroying their archenemy, Israel. Therefore, they're setting up cells in the United States of America, and it's every jihadi's dream in America to take down a World Trade Center or to blow up a soft target, a school, or to fill in the blanks. So this stuff impacts Americans here at home, and Americans have to be on the alert. We need to be on a war footing. It's simple.
Like we saw back in Fort Lauderdale in 2008, send the Jews to the Evans. And also just recently, a couple of weeks ago.
Good point.
We're down there in the middle of them. And also we see it out in California when we're exposing, what's going on at the California campuses. And in Detroit. And in Dearborn.
Right.
Where you have, Muslims stoning Christians in the street and nobody gets...
How about, hey Mark, how about in the state capital of Tallahassee, Florida, on the 22nd floor, 3 years ago, when you were standing there with your camera, and Bassem, sometimes these names get reversed, Bassem Alahabi, a professor of engineering, computer sciences at Florida Atlantic University, not far from here, takes his pad and hits you and your camera because you were holding it in a public square, in a public place, attacks you, and winds up getting arrested, thrown in jail, and was going to be convicted but pleaded out. These guys are getting riled up, and that was pre-Arab Spring. So with this president that's so pro-Muslim, we've got some dangerous days ahead for people that are doing what we do. We all know that.
Exactly. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. You know that, Tom. I know it. We've seen it. When we go to the ISMA conferences and we see, oh my God, these guys don't even have like you stated earlier, the ability to pledge allegiance to the United States. And it's like, what are you going to do when a group, a citizen, has no desire or want to integrate? All they want to do is bring in their values and say, this is the way it's going to be, or the highway. And until we stand up to this, I fear for what's going to be happening in the streets, and I think that's where you're alluding to. This is going to get worse and worse and worse. People are going to start going after synagogues, and it's just going to ramp up. The more we turn a blind eye to this stuff.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me an email earlier today. I want to read what he wrote. It was really. He wrote, "I long for the America I knew, and I weep for the America that is coming." That was Bob Heller. Bob Heller wrote that.
Oh, yeah.
"I long for the America I knew, and I weep for the America that is coming." Oh, well, on 41 minutes after the hour, we are here on TrentoVision.tv and WNN 1470. Rabbi, anything else before we let you go for the evening here?
No.
Hey,
it's always a pleasure to speak.
Thank you. You are our,
Thank you so much for calling.
Our brother in arms.
You're very welcome.
We love you, and stay in touch. Mark, we'll see you too.
I have a quick weather report. It's snowing and cold up here in Connecticut. I'm dying to
know here in Massachusetts, by the way.
Oh, you guys are pretty close. You guys aren't too far away.
I should swing by and say hi to him.
Yeah. Well, it's not snowing in 75-degree beautiful Boca Raton. So eat your heart out, guys. All right, we're going to let you go.
All right.
Take care.
Now. Have a good night.
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
Rabbi John from up north, and Father Mark, J. Mark Campbell, at 42 minutes past the hour. If you want to get in on the conversation, 888-565-1470. Oy vey. Well, let's see. Arafat is being exhumed, or was exhumed.
Mm-hmm. Remember the old Saturday Night Live skit?
No, what was
Franco is still dead.
Oh, yeah.
Arafat is still dead.
He's still dead.
Yeah.
I wrote on the email, I wonder if he stinks more now than when he was alive.
You know, better than exhuming him, we should find out where are the billions of dollars we gave him that kind of disappeared down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's
to his wife in Paris or something.
Of course.
Yeah.
And whatever.
More money well spent by the United States taxpayers.
For those who may not be up on the latest on Yasser Arafat, the poor chap who has been entombed for the past 8 years was extricated earlier today, exhumed. They had this huge concrete vault around the casket. They had to dig through that whole deal. They opened it up, and he said, "Hello, how you doing?" Had his keffiyeh on. They took samples of his tissue, and at first I said, "Oh, this is a joke. I mean, what do you think the results are going to be? The Jews did it, right?" But actually, they had scientists from 3 or 4 different countries. I think France, Sweden, Germany, Russia, and the Palestinians had their own doctors, and everybody's checking for it's not plutonium but palladium or
thallium.
No, it starts with a P.
I thought it was something with a T.
It starts with a P. It's the juice that Russian spy got hit with and died real quickly, and we'll find it. But the question is, was he poisoned or did he die of just being an idiot? If you remember, in 2004, he was trapped in was it his compound in Ramallah?
Yes.
He led the intifadas, and I can't believe that guy got a Nobel Peace Prize.
I can.
He's related to the Mufti, the grand religious leader, Mufti of Jerusalem in World War II. And during World War II, speak about Jew hatred.
Mm-hmm.
During World War II, the Grand Mufti decided that his religious duty can be done more efficiently if he teamed up with an Austrian in Germany by the name of Adolf Hitler. So the Grand Mufti, the Muslim, this is why, folks, this stuff drives us crazy, particularly when we see stupid rabbis, stupid priests, stupid pastors involved in interfaith meetings with Muslim Brotherhood imams that we know are bad actors. And in World War II, the religious leader of Jerusalem, the Grand Mufti, al-Husseini, his name is, he was the great uncle of Yasser Arafat. He decided he could be more religious and help Muslims and Allah better if he teamed up with Adolf Hitler and formed a Jew-killing squadron of Bosnian Muslims to hunt down and kill Jews. And we can show you video of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. This is like the Pope saying, hey, let's go kill Muslims, and we can do it real efficiently if we join with Adolf Hitler to do it. I mean, this is how bizarre this stuff is. Well, the Grand Mufti did that and had some of the highest kill rates of any unit in the German forces. And whereas Rommel, the great field general, the tank general Rommel, the Desert Fox, was paid $25,000 a year, right? His salary, which was in the 40s, was immense. The Grand Mufti was paid $600,000 by the Germans. That was his money to put this squadron, huge Bosnian Muslim force of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Muslims from Bosnia to go into places and weed out Jews and kill them and stick them on the cattle cars. This is the great uncle of Yasser Arafat, who formed the Palestinian Liberation Organization. You talk about genetic Jew hatred. His body was exhumed to determine whether or not the Jews killed him today. That's the news for Yasser Arafat. Did you find the name of that plutonium or something? Not plutonium.
No.
Well, see if you can find that. I'm just curious. Yeah. So, what a day in the neighborhood. Well, let's see. Tomorrow, we have
polonium.
Polonium. That's what it is. P-O-L-O.
L-O-N-I-U.
Polonium. One piece of salt. You know, a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
One piece of polonium touching your skin will kill you very, very quickly by causing your muscles to cramp up, and they don't expand or contract anymore. They all just get solid, and you suffocate to death, basically. Mm-hmm. So they're thinking that maybe that was the cause of his death.
Except for he was sick for years, and he spent weeks and months in a Paris hospital where he was pretty closely guarded.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Yasser Arafat. Like we care.
And why now? And why now? Why are they doing this right now? Why right before the big push at the UN? Do they need to resurrect the father of their country?
Well, let's tell the folks what's happening in the UN this week. You see,
everything is related. There's like no coincidences anywhere,
We
right?
would love to have a gardening show here and say, the latest daffodils. If you put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you get a beautiful daffodil. Well, sadly, we are a culture in crisis, and sadly, the instigating entity in the crisis globally and even in the U.S. is the Islamic movement, the Islamic Jihad movement worldwide. And this week in the United Nations, on 32nd Street and First Avenue in New York, Mahmoud Abbas, the top dog for that part of Palestine that the Hamas hates, Judea, Samaria, the West Bank. He's the head of the Palestinian Authority, Fatah, and he and Hamas hate each other, but they don't hate each other today, okay? When it's time to hate Jews, they get together. Mahmoud Abbas.
It unifies everybody. It's something everybody can agree on.
Mahmoud Abbas is traveling to New York today. I think he's there now. And this week, he will make a presentation. We will have the presentation for you tomorrow. We'll have Barry Shaw, S-H-A-W, our good friend in town just a little bit north of Tel Aviv. He has been tracking very closely Mahmoud Abbas and his effort to go to the UN for what, CJ? Tell us what they're going to do there tomorrow.
Oh, they're looking for statehood, Palestinian statehood, because in the last 15, 20 years, they've proven to really be experts at governing themselves and managing their affairs, and now they want the rest of the world to recognize them for it.
Now, when this two-state theory thing, you got the West Bank, which is Fatah, the Palestinian Authority, and you got Hamas running Gaza, 1.7 million there, and I think 600,000 or so over here. The statehood is both of them together, one state. What state is it? What's the state of confusion? What is the name of the state?
It becomes the Palestinian state.
The
state of Palestine.
The state of Palestine. Is that really the formal name?
I think so, yeah.
The state of Palestine. Okay, the two lands, they can't stand each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're separated, and they've killed each other. They're going to kill each other in the future. And this is, and the United Nations, 193 countries, 195 countries, has to vote. And 57 of those 193, 56, are the OIC, the Organization for Islamic Cooperation. Right. Guess which way they're voting?
G.
And guess which way France is voting?
Also, G.
France decided today to vote for statehood for Hamas. Now tell me France doesn't have a screw loose or two. Well, we're going to get into that. You see how these things work? We have Israel at war with the Hamas. The Muslim Brotherhood leader negotiates a ceasefire with this. Look, if I had to pitch this, I've said this a couple of times. If I was a wide-eyed or wild-eyed movie director and I wanted my script pitched to a Hollywood producer, and I sat down and said, okay, here's the story. We got this country. It's going to fight these other guys here, and then the Muslim Brotherhood leader meets with the American president, Secretary of State, and they negotiate. The guy goes, get out of my office. I mean, this makes no sense. Well, this is real life, and now the Muslim Brotherhood leader declared himself pharaoh for life, and Egypt is maybe about to explode. But tomorrow, the two that were at war, actually the one that was at war, wants to be a state with the West Bank. They're going to be at the UN, and France is going to vote, yeah, let's make them a state, and the world's going to be a happy place.
Right.
Unbelievable, folks. And all of this affects your wallet, because guess where we get a lot of oil still? From these folks, and it goes through their territories and through their waterways. And we haven't even mentioned the real problem yet, Iran. So
exactly.
we'll factor them in at some point. But we will keep your national security and your Obama craziness on track right here. And we will continue with Benghazi, because Benghazi took an interesting turn today with Susan Rice. So, CJ, any closing thoughts before we wind up?
No, I want to see what happens. I want to continue to see what happens with Susan Rice. I want to see what we do at the UN. I want to see if she shows up and defends Israel at the UN on behalf of the United States, or if she skips that Security Council meeting like she skips all the other ones that she does when Israel's safety and well-being is at stake.
I think the only course of action for her now, for rehabilitation, is to put on some vibrato show where she's there. We, the United States, will never agree to this. We stand with Israel 1,000. She's going to do something like that.
Well, you know what? Even if she doesn't do something like that, it could be that if she goes, the real person that they're looking to get into her spot is really somebody so much worse than she is. And then we just used all our daggers to get rid of her. And now we're stuck with whoever we have instead of her.
Who is there? Well, we got to go. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, our first hour, Barry Shaw.
More fun stuff.
Skyped in from Israel. We're going to have an update. We can talk with him tomorrow. You're more than welcome to do that. Thanks for hanging with us for these 3 hours, hanging out with us a little bit. The bottom line is America is a phenomenally exceptional country and deserves all the work and effort every one of us put in to keep it that way. We got to fight those who have the keys to the asylum ideologically, win this country back and move it in the right direction, and stay together with us. We'll do that. Tom Trento, CJ, Mike, all of us saying goodbye, good night. God bless America.